The CCG has found Ogiri's base in Rishima, an island in Tokyo Bay, and have launched their assault. Meanwhile, Ken Kaneki, still living as Hei Sasaki despite regaining his memory, and Nimura Furuta arrests Saint Teksuki's Etu, editor, in order for him to confess that Teksuki is a ghoul. After exiting the room, Nimura tells Kaneki that Hinami is about to be executed in the coming days. In a press conference about her last book, Teksuki reveals that she is a ghoul and that her last book is about uniting ghouls and humans. Kaneki arrives and arrests her. As they arrive at Cochlea, Etu tells him that in the book lies the truth about the CCG. The Washu family, CCG's leading family, are working with the ghoul organization V, the same one who killed her mother. And that Rise Kamishiro was a ghoul who fled from V in a V meeting. Kako orders Nimura to find out if Etu is the One-Eyed King, the semi-mythical leader of Ogiri. Kako also confirms that they have found Shachi's Rise's foster father hideout in the meeting and orders Kisho Arima to locate him and make him reveal Rise's location. Arima and his squad find and kill Shachi after he refuses to answer them. In Cochlea, Nimura tries to learn from Etu the identity of the king. Etu mocks him and hints that Nimura is also a Washu unable to call his real father. Nimura reveals to Etu that he killed and cooked her editor as he exits the room. Etu later tells Kaneki that he must kill the king. As Ayato joins up with Banju and his gang, they ready a plan to attack Cochlea and free Hinami. A riot begins at Cochlea as they launch their assault. During the chaos, Kaneki walks into Hinami's cell and tells her it's time for them to leave. Ayato, Banju and his gang storm into Cochlea and massacre several CCG guards. As Kaneki walks into Hinami's cell, he decides that he intends to save her as his last job and get killed by Arima. Arima arrives at Cochlea and attacks Ayato. As Ayato is about to be killed, Yomo and Toker arrive and save him. It is revealed in a flashback that Yomo is actually Toker and Ayato's uncle as their mother, Hakari, was his sister. Hakari was killed by Arima while her husband Arata wasn't able to save her. Arata became a Kakuja in order to be stronger but was eventually killed by Kureomado and Shinohara while Yomo joined Anteku and Yoshimura. Toka, Ayato and Yomo continued their battle against Arima. During their escape from the hallway, Kaneki and Hinami come across Nimura who mockingly fights Kaneki and Hinami, but is defeated quickly. Hinami pierces his chest with her Kagune. Kaneki arrives just in time to save Yomo from being killed by Arima. As they all escape with Hinami, Kaneki tries to buy them some time by fighting Arima. As they face off, they descend into the depths of Cochlea, both landing into a flower pit at the very bottom. Arima arms himself with the owl's quank and injures Kaneki many times while calling him weak, stating that he had the opportunity to kill him many times. Kaneki unleashes his Kakuja for battle. Meanwhile, Nimura and several V agents turn on the machine that Toka, Hinami and the other fleeing ghouls are using to escape. Suddenly, Etu breaks out of her cell and chases Nimura after defeating the other V agents. As she is about to kill him, he reveals that Akihiro Kanu turned him into a ghoul by matching him with Rise's Kagune, and he uses it to destroy her Kakuja and defeat her. Back at the pit, Kaneki is injured multiple times by Arima, and as he is about to give up and let Arima to kill him, he envisions a hallucination of Hyde telling him to live. Coming back to reality, Kaneki launches at Arima's quank and destroys it. After Kaneki declares the fight over and declines the notion that he would kill him, Arima slices his own throat with the severed quank he held onto. During the Rishima landing operation, Toso strangles Mitsuki and takes him captive into a cave. Meanwhile, Hanbi Abara is attacked by Kurona Yasuhisa, who seeks revenge on Juzo for severely wounding her sister, Nashiro. As she defeats him and is about to kill him, Juzo appears and saves him as he proceeds to battle Kurona. Inside a nearby building, Akira, Hauji and a CCG squad face Tatara. Tatara, who lost his brother to Hauji, fights them in his Kakuja form. Kurona reveals to Juzo that she PS Nashiro inside of her as a parasitic humanoid face in her abdomen to save her from dying. She believes that Dr. Kanu, who made them ghouls, will save her life later down the line. Juzo tells to that Nashiro is already dead and defeats her as she narrowly escapes. Meanwhile, Tatara is betrayed and killed by Takezawa, who wanted revenge on him for mutilating and capturing him during the Iku raid, as well as allowing Kanu to torture him in order to create the perfect Kaneki. As the CCG squad apprehends him, Takezawa kills Haoji and the group. Suddenly, Amon appears and saves Akira F. Rome, being strangled to death by Takezawa, revealing he was also captured and turned into a ghoul by Kanu, but was considered a failed experiment to him. An injured Kurona finds Kanu in his lab and asks him to save Nashiro. Kanu mocks her belief that she's alive and explains to her that Nashiro was dead even after the fusion. Kurona decides to kill him as revenge, however he unleashes his Quin's clone experiments to defend himself. Takezawa fights and defeats Amon as Quin's squad arrives in order to fight him. Kurona fights Kanu's Quin's experiments and denounces him, calling him crazy. Io arrives in Kanu's lab and captures him. Meanwhile, as Naki and the white suits are surrounded by the CCG, Tsukiyama appears offering help. Tsukiyama saves Naki and the white suits by killing the CCG agents. Nishio is forced to fight clown members Shikare and Roma Hoito while Kanu escapes. At the same time, Takezawa fights with the Quin's squad, and as Yuri is about to kill him, Akira protects him by putting herself up as a human shield. She apologizes to him for being unable to save him during the Anteku raid and collapses wounded. Amon holds off the Quin's squad and orders Takezawa to take her to safety, in which he does. Amon fights the Quin's squad with his giant Kakuja. Psycho defeats him but is unable to finish him off upon realizing that he was the one who saved her life, allowing him to escape. Meanwhile, aboard the ship where Yoshitoki Washu is located, Itsuki Marud confronts him. He tells him that because of Tetsuki's book he conducted a research on the Washu family and discovered that they are actually ghouls, making the CCG an anti-ghoul agency governed by ghouls. He shoots Yoshitoki in the head hoping to be wrong, but Yoshitoki unleashes his ghoul powers as defense and confirms the rumor. Later, Matsuri discovers his father Yoshitoki's body. Back at Cochlear, Donato Popperer escapes from his cell and kills the prison's director. Uta appears giving him a clown mask, and later, Nimura, Donato, Uta and several V agents assassinate CCG's chairman Tsunoyoshi Washu, the father of Yoshitoki, Nimura, Arima and rise in his office. Meanwhile, in the flower pit of Cochlear, while on the verge of death from striking himself, Arima reveals to Kaneki that he, Nimura and all the other agents raised in the Sunlit Garden are actually half-human, illegitimate members of the Washu family, having ghoul father and human mothers. Arima explains that half-humans live shorter than normal humans, and that he was on the verge of death regardless of killing himself. Aditio Nali reveals that the Washu family are ghouls, that he hated his very own existence for the sole purpose of killing ghouls, and that he is in fact the one-eyed king. He was conspiring with Etu Olal on to find a ghoul that could kill him in order to become a symbol for peace between ghouls and humans. He begs Kaneki to take the credit for his death before finally dying from his injuries, and Kaneki accepts his plea. The next day, after saving his friends from Cochlear, Kaneki holds a meeting in Talker's coffee shop between his friends, former Ogiri members and Arima's squad who defected from CCG to join him. He declares himself as the One-Eyed King and starts a new ghoul organization purpose to unite humans and ghouls through force. The organization's name is GOAT. The other ghouls accept him as their leader. With the exception of Naki due to Yamori's death, however, he comes along too. Meanwhile, after the death of the members of the Washu family, several CCG's officers are attacked by ghouls. At the same time, Akira, who is also in Talker's shop, is gravely ill due to her injuries. Nico appears and gives Nishiki the address of Dr. Ogre, the leader of the Great Wheel Act, a ghoul rights organization. Kaneki, Nishio and Tsukiyama meet him, and he offers his support as well as his doctors in order to cure Akira. Kaneki reunites with Amon and they have a conversation about Kaneki's motives on forming GOAT. Upon hearing that Akira is awake, Amon visits her bringing her cat, also. He apologizes for not revealing himself to her sooner. Akira, however, doesn't feel anything about it. Later, Toka takes Akira for a walk. She reveals that she was the one who killed her father due to him killing Hinami's parents. Toka takes her to a playground where she sees Ghoul children and former Ogiri, now GOAT, members playing. After they hug, Toka sends them to hug Akira. After that, Hinami, unable to hate Kureo Mado, hugs Akira as well. Upon hearing her heartbeat, Akira realizes that she no longer hates ghouls and that her life is now empty. Mitsuki has lost his mind after the fight with Toso, making him realize that he is in love with Sensei, aka Kaneki. Furuta has become the head of the Washu clan and is now leading the CCG. He instructed Suzuya to become the new Arima and announced their next plan of action in order to fight off the clowns. After stopping the various assaults that happened simultaneously in the 9th, 2nd, 18th, and 19th ward, the clowns' army came right outside the door of the CCG headquarters where Suzuya started fighting with no face and where they realized that the majority of the clowns are humans that are forced into fighting against their will. Meanwhile, Yuri is fighting against Donato and after losing the battle he goes berserk and Psycho tries to get him back to his senses. Before the episode ends, Furuta visits Mitsuki in the hospital and then we see him in a huge meeting of the CCG, making a speech about how they will destroy all the ghouls and presenting a new Queen squad named Ogi. Kaneki, Nishiki, and Tsukiyama try to save some ghouls that are attacked by CCG, but arrive too late and everyone is already dead. Next day, as Kaneki tries to come up with the next plan of action, Toka reveals her feelings for him and asks him to trust his friends more and not do things by himself. Mitsuki comes in the coffee shop and starts attacking them, because he wants his sensei to come back and join the CCG. They manage to escape and find themselves in an abandoned tower where they have sex. Meanwhile, Takeomi Kuroiwa and Yoriko get married but unfortunately Furuta finds out about her relationship with Toka when they were students and locks Yoriko away. As Nishiki checks up on Kaneki, he implies to him that Toka is actually pregnant he verifies with her himself later on and they decide to get married as well. Furuta and the clowns are preparing for their attack on the ghouls where they are going to use their final secret weapon. In the banquet of Kaneki and Toka's wedding, Mitsuki and the rest of the CCG forces invade and start attacking them. Meanwhile, Yuri and Kuroiwa go to confront Furuta in the CCG headquarters and to prove that he does not take sane and reasonable decisions. When they go inside his office, they are attacked by Roma who ends up being the SSS raid ghoul named Doji Mother and Shikare, where Kuroiwa gets badly injured but Yuri manages to kill them both. Furuta stabs Kuroiwa in the head and later on, Maruda comes in and shoots him but doesn't kill him. He is accompanied by Hyde who asks for Uri's help. Deep underground, Toka is fighting with Mitsuki while Tsukiyama, Nishio, and Yomo are against the Suzuya squad and Kaneki fights the Ogi squad. Soon, Suzuya starts attacking Kaneki and they engage into a huge fight but Kaneki realizes that Toka is cornered and in danger and goes to her rescue. After being brutally torn to pieces by the Ogi squad, Kaneki releases his inner beast and produces probably the biggest Kagune ever seen. Kaneki and his dragon, Kagune, is out of control and kills everyone in its path. Furuta meets Mitsuki and tells her that the Ogi was the reason Kaneki turned into a beast and that everything is her fault. Kanu is confronted by Corona and before shooting himself with a gun, he confesses that people will now figure out the possibilities of using ghouls for medical purposes. The ghouls meet up with Hyde and go to the CCG headquarters in order to form an alliance and save Kaneki. After agreeing to work together, Nishino reveals to them that the only way to destroy this monster is by finding and extracting Kaneki's body in order for the Kagune to decay. Toka then remembers that she gave Kaneki her parents' ring and suggests to use metal detectors to find his body through the massive Kagune that has spread around the city. As the CCG and the ghouls work together to find his body, Dragon starts releasing monsters made from its own mass that attack everyone. The CCG fights off the monsters as the rest carry on with the search. Mitsuki then comes up to Yuri and Yonbayashi blaming himself for the situation and trying to kill them but the Queen squad talks to him, making him realize that he has been part of their family all along. Kaneki is lost in his thoughts and after having a meaningful conversation with Rise, he steps out of his mind realm. Toka finds his body and they all take him to the CCG headquarters where he regains his consciousness. Realizing that humans and ghouls are now working together for the greater good, he goes to see the city with Yuri and Yonbayashi. At that time, Furuta broadcasts scenes of the monster attacking the people and showing that they are made of some sort of poison that will turn every human into a ghoul. Kaneki and the rest run to the scene only to be attacked by the same monsters that manages to poison Yonbayashi. Kaneki kills all of the monsters and they return to the CG where they are informed that Yonbayashi along with anyone who breathed the poison has now turned into a ghoul. Later on, Kaneki meets up with Hyde and makes him remove his mask to witness his face and what he has done to him. Before the episode ends, Kaneki decides to fight back along with everyone's help. It's discovered that the dragon has another core. In order to prevent poison from being released, turning all humans into ghouls, it needs to be destroyed. Kaneki alone is resistant to the poison, and while he attempts to destroy the core, the ghouls join with the CCG to fight with the clowns and save the city. As the tide is swinging in their favor, a ghoul with an appearance similar to the owls joins the fight. Hinami learns that it's being controlled by Denato, who is confronted by Kotaro. Meanwhile, Uter and Itori fight Yomo and are defeated, but Yomo refuses to kill. Eamon kills Denato, his son, who confesses that he never hated his father in spite of fighting against him and the CCG. Ayato fights off monsters while Kaneki continues deeper underground and finds Furuta guarding the dragon's core. Furuta and Kaneki fight while dialoguing about their ideals and shared history. Above ground, the losing CCG and ghoul forces are saved by the appearance of Takezawa, the white suits, Kurona, as well as Matsuri, who reappears. Kaneki defeats Furuta, telling him that in spite of the evils in the world and suffering he personally went through, he would not have chosen any other path. Kaneki realizes that Rise's body is the cause energy source and is able to release her, stopping the release of the poison. 6 years later, Tokyo has returned to normal and humans and ghouls live peacefully together. Kaneki, Toka, and their baby daughter are visited by Hyde and their friends and they enjoy a cup of coffee together.